Hi, everyone. It's Gail Scott here again, and I'm here to try to help you understand what's going on right now and what you can do to really be able to cope with all of these crazy, crazy changes that we've got going on. Now, the first message that came in from my guides talks about how we really want to know what's happening as human beings, but that we actually live in a quantum space, and that's not the way things work in a quantum space. And they've said the reason why we want to be able to know what's happening is so that we can control it. So of course, we falsely think that if we can control our environment, we can control what's going to happen, then we're going to be able to have a better experience. But that's actually not always true. The thing is that we create our reality based on how we react to what's happening in the present moment. So they've talked frequently about the idea that life is a series of slides, a storyline, like a movie, basically, and that in every moment we're creating the next slide of our life. And so we can't possibly know what's going to happen because it hasn't happened yet in this current reality. But in the quantum field, everything has already happened. So I hope that's not too confusing for you. But so they said, why are we taking you down this storyline? Well, we've come into this quantum space to experience a lot of things. Consciousness wants to experience itself. And so it creates itself in many forms. We as human beings are one of them. And as human beings, we're sentient beings. So we get to experience all kinds of emotions, joy, sadness, intimacy, adventure. It's kind of, that's the experience of being human. And we have a body, so we can be in action in those experiences, in those emotions. And it gives us the possibility of flow, that we can move from one place to another, and that we can kind of have this really dynamic experience as a human being. And of course, we have a brain within that body. And many of my guides have likened the brain to a computer. It is basically a computer. But this computer that's called your brain, it really programs you based on the past. Not what's happening in the moment or what's even going to happen in the future, but really based on what you've already done, what you've already seen, what you've already experienced. And so you could say that your future is actually predictable based on the past. And so they're telling me now that software is going to be changing. So the brain neural pathways, the plasticity of our brains, the way that it's worked before is now outdated because we're moving into a different vibration, a different dimension, so to speak. And so that dimension means that the energy moves faster. So the third dimension, the dimension of fear, that emotion of fear is actually a very slow, low energy. And we are upgrading. Our planet is upgrading, our bodies are upgrading. And so we as a species also have to upgrade. And with the upgrade into the fifth dimension, it means that the speed of the energy, the frequency is increasing. And our brains have to kind of come online and be able to manage that. But how do we cope in this world right now, which is constantly changing in front of us, when we're limited in the programming that we have in our brains right now? So the answer to this is to trust and to surrender and to let go. Now that might seem very scary, but you're not going to let go of everything, because there are some things that actually work really well in your life. Some things are really helpful. Your ego, for example, you're not going to let go of your ego because your ego helps you to do things. But the energy of the ego is a very low vibration compared to the energy of the heart. And so when you follow your heart, you can actually access something much bigger than just this human being life that you're having, this experience on earth. Because when you access the heart, you go kind of up a notch into the higher self, into connecting to your spirit and your soul, which is a much higher frequency than this, third dimensional physical matter form that we're living in. So how do we trust and let go? And the way that we do that is we need to bring online the heart. And when we do trust and we do surrender and we do let go, and that means letting go of all that control, needing to know what's going to happen, and trying to make sure we're safe and all of these kinds of things. The heart is a much better frequency for you to be able to trust that you actually know what it is that you need to do. And even if you don't know what's going to happen, you're going to be okay. So how do you do that? Well, you have to believe, first of all, that you have access to this higher source of knowledge, your own spirit, your own soul, your higher self. That wisdom is available to you to understand that it doesn't matter what happens. The knowing or the not knowing really isn't important. It will provide you with the skills or direction in order to deal with whatever is coming down the pipeline. And even if you have to experience something that you have not yet experienced in this lifetime, what you really need to understand is that energetically, you have likely dealt with the same kind of issue in another lifetime. And of course, that requires you believing in the idea that there is such a thing as reincarnation, and that we don't just come here the one time and then it's game over. No, we have programming within us at an energetic level, both from this current moment, from the past of this lifetime, from the past of other lifetimes, and also from the future of lifetimes that we don't know about yet. Because remember, we're living in a quantum field, and in that quantum field, everything exists. So if you want to, you can actually tap into your wisdom that's in the future. I know it sounds a little bit like a movie, but this really is what's happening and what's available to you. So as we're going through life, we're experiencing things and we're drawing on the knowledge that we already know. But if you think that you're limited by that, then you are very much mistaken. Now, they've given me this analogy that we're existing in what they call the soup. This is not the first time that my guides have given me the analogy of soup. And so what they're saying is, if you believe that your soup only has the ingredients that you're having in this lifetime, then you're very limited by that. In actual fact, you're contributing to the soup of your life that you're living right now from all of your lives in all quantum realities. And that might sound a little confusing to you if you're not familiar with that, but just stay with me. It's the idea that we are all living a stream of lives constantly, all at the same time. And so as we're living in this particular lifetime, in this one big pot of soup that we're living in, we can actually bring in information, energy, innate abilities, wisdom into this current lifetime. And so that will give you a very different mix within your current life experience. So you're drawing on not just your wisdom, but your own knowledge, your own experiences, the innate abilities that you already have and that your soul has experienced in other lives. And see, that's why we're here. That's what this, playground is for. It's for your soul, a version of consciousness to play and to learn and to grow. And so I want you to really realize that as you're living this life, you can actually tap into some of the things that your soul's already experienced, already learned, already gone through, already overcome And so that's what you can decide to bring into the soup that you are currently living in. You can use them to help you to cope in this current reality. So you have to kind of believe that you do have access to this higher self part of you, and that it's made of many more things than just this physical body that you're living in. And when you can trust it, it will begin to guide you. And the wisdom of the soul is not something where it comes and bonks you on the head. It doesn't. It's a little nudge. It's a little tap on the shoulder. It's just, this kind of random thought that maybe you might want to call this person or go here or do this or sign up for that or think about trying this. And so that's kind of the way that your soul or your intuition talks to you. And so in this kind of reality that we're living in, which is very precarious right now, doesn't it feel good to know that you can actually access something that will give you wisdom, that will help you, that will guide you? Well, some of the ways that we, and many of us have already been doing this, is through prayer. Prayer is when you seek out the guidance and the wisdom of a higher source of energy, whether you call it God or universe, it doesn't really matter. It is that higher wisdom that's available to you. You can meditate, and in that quiet moment, you will be guided because it allows for space. It allows for you to hear. It allows for the ego to be quietened. And in that experience, you get to tap into and hear, really listen to some of your own wisdom that we also don't get to tap into because it's very noisy. You can also access this out in nature because the vibration of nature, of the natural world, is very, very high. It's higher than we are. So you can access your God, your soul, your spirit. And that is where many, many people have spiritual awakenings, is out in nature, whether you are standing at the side of a river, or you're on a hike in a mountain, or you're even just looking up at the stars at night. These experiences give us peace, and they give us a deeper connection, a more grounding to the energy of Mother Earth, which then expands us into the energy of the universe because we are made of her and of it. And so you can tap into your body. Your body has the cellular memory. It has an innate wisdom that it can communicate with you. And that wisdom exists on all dimensions. And so when you access your body or you tap into the energy of your heart, you are letting go of the programming that's in your brain. Because if you believe that your brain is the box of all knowledge, well, you're very much mistaken, because your brain is simply programmed by what your heart tells it to. And this has been proven now in heart math. And so if you can let go, now it's not that you're going to let go of your brain. Of course, you need your brain, you need your ego, you need that part of you to exist in this third dimensional body on planet Earth. But if you can trust the wisdom that's coming to you from these innate sources, whether it is through prayer or meditation or nature or your heart or your body, you will find that you will be able to quieten your mind, and you really will be able to have a sense of peace. And you'll also get guidance on what it is that you know would be helpful for you. So the problem with the world right now, or one of the problems, is there's so much noise. There's a lot of ingredients being added into your soup, let's say. And maybe if you had some choice, which you do, but we often forget that we do, you might not be adding some of that noise and distraction into your pot of soup, because sometimes it just amplifies a different vibration, maybe fear, distraction, And things are coming at us from all different angles right now. And so what might be helpful for you would be to kind of realize that in the quiet times, in the quiet moments, that you can actually let go of some of that distraction, and that in the quantum field, you can access anything, right? And so when you do that, you're really upping your vibrational level, your vibrational alignment, and everything about how you are being in the world. And so you kind of really have to think about what works for you, because what works for you is not necessarily going to work for the other person, right? We're all different. And so some of us like to just sit quietly. Some of us like to go out for walks. Some of us like to read. It really just depends on what you feel works for you. But I really feel that a lot of us have kind of lost this connection to ourselves. We are so easily distracted with just the quantity of information that's being bombarded at us, whether it's through, this channel, YouTube channel, or social media, or the news, or your workplace, or your family, your community. Everybody has their own opinion about things. And so it's really about discerning much more deliberately about how to be in alignment with yourself, how to recognize that you can control your environment by connecting into your own soul and being led by your heart and intuitively accessing your body. And many of us have not really learned how to do this. This has actually been removed from our way of being for a very long time. And it is time for it to be returning. And it is returning. It is changing right now on the planet. And so you can begin to be strengthened by all of these things. Because everything that is being almost thrown at you, it's kind of being force fed on us, all this information. And so what this message that I'm getting from my guides is, this is a call out to you. It's a call out to each of you that are listening to this message to kind of let go of all of that noise, and to get quiet and to let go of the busyness. And that is a gift. It's a gift that we have been given for the last 18 months. And I think that many people have wanted to return to normal. But heads up, there is no normal anymore. We are in an environment that is going to be constantly changing over the next at least 18 months. So, you are in the elusive place of being able to think about what you want to create in your world. What kind of normal life do you want? How do you want it to be? How do you want to feel? What matters to you? What's important to you? And that sometimes means letting go of some of the things that we've been used to, mainstream media, for one thing, and all of the other influences that are out there, because they are basically regurgitating information that is not coming from an energy of love. And it is perpetuating a fearful agenda. And this is the third dimension. This is this world that we're living in right now, but it's not the world that we're moving into. So yes, these are strong words. That's what they said to me. We recognize this and we say this with love, but we need to start to pay attention, and to pay attention to our bodies, and pay attention to how we feel. And if we are fearful, we need to recognize that that fear is something that we are choosing to participate in. And I know this is hard to hear. It's everywhere. It's just everywhere. But you get to choose what you put in your soup, so to speak. So if something feels right, if it feels good, if it feels aligned, if it feels true, if it's something that contributes to your life, then keep it and move forward with that. And that takes a bit of practice of really trusting yourself and letting go of all the other noise that's out there. And sometimes it means making new decisions and, doing things that not everybody else is doing. And again, that's a new experience. But what they said to me was, if you could see your future and you could look back on this past, this current moment that you're living in right now, you would see that some things would be better choices. And they don't like to use the word better or worse. They said there's no distinction like that. This is just the reality in which we're living. So how do we do this? We have to really recognize the experiences that we're having that are not helping us to stay connected to our own spirit and our own soul and our own heart, and recognize that some of the information that's coming at us, we are being led and coerced in some respects, and that this is not accurate. A lot of the information that we're getting is not accurate. And, you can say, well, I don't believe that, but there's a lot of information out there, and it's really sometimes a challenge to be able to discern what's true and what's not true. And the only way that you can do that is by connecting into yourself. And that's how you will create a better future for you. And so that's kind of, we've come full circle, in the idea that we as humans always want to know what's coming. But the only way that we can create our future is to kind of stop right now and think about the life that we're living right now, because that is what is predicting the future for us. And so maybe that means you do turn off mainstream media. Maybe it means you don't engage in conversations that are fearful based. Maybe you start to look at things differently. Maybe you explore some other resources, or speak to people that you admire, who can guide you and help you to make choices for yourself, rather than just arbitrarily believing everything that's coming at us right now, because everything is changing. And so they also gave me the example of, a high school kid going to university and wanting to please their parents, and their parents wanting them to take a particular course or, program. And so it's really understanding that that's where we're at right now, where there are powers in our world that want us, most of us, in fact, not all of us, to follow a certain path, to do a certain thing, because that's what they want. But we need to learn, as we have learned when we're young people, that we can't do that. It never really leads to true happiness, to a purpose-filled life, because you came here not to follow in what someone else wants. You came here to be you. You came here to have the experience of being you. And that means connecting to your spirit, to your heart, to your soul, and recognizing that there are things that you will want to be a part of that other people might not necessarily think you should do. And, being able to stretch out of that and grow into who you really are, is kind of where it's at. That's what you're here to do. And so I really encourage you to kind of, take the time to consider who you are, and to consider what it is that you want out of your life, and what you're going to listen to, and what you're going to follow, and what you're going to take guidance on. Because this is really where we're at as a collective. So, the kid is going off to university. This is the human race. And we have other influences in our planet right now that are less than kind, let's say. So we have to decide, are we going to stand up for ourselves, and are we going to follow our hearts, and are we going to move into a dimension of love and peace and harmony, or are we going to be coerced and controlled? And that's really a path that only you can pick how that might look for yourself. And if this is all you know, something that you don't understand, you don't believe, that's fine too. This is just my take on the channeling messages that I get and my own experience. So you don't have to believe anything I tell you. But what I do know is that when you surrender to your heart, when you learn how to trust, and when you can let go of, you know, anyone who's trying to influence you, you generally can find yourself in a much more peaceful place. I'm not saying that it's easy to get there. It's not, because I've gone through that. But once you get there and you have that self-confidence and you know who you are and you feel in alignment with yourself, there is a peace, you know, as Jesus said, the peace that passes all understanding. It's there. It's there for you to take. And when you tap into your heart and that spiritual knowing, that higher source, whether it's through prayer, meditation, creativity, being out in nature, or a quiet moment, this is where you're going to really recognize who you really are. So this message is not for everyone. I recognize that. And of course, as they say in most 12-step programs, take what you like and leave the rest. This is just a message to give you hope, to give you some assistance on how to be less impacted by what's going on out there, because, you know, there's a lot of things that we haven't even seen yet, that haven't even come online yet. And this is a journey. It is a journey that we're on, and we are nowhere near the end yet. And we do have lots of choice. Because the quantum field is unlimited. We have unlimited possibilities that we can tap into. And it's the energy of the heart, actually, that gives you access to these deep, incredibly powerful experiences. And you get to choose that. And that's how you create your reality. And that's how you create your future, to be joy-filled and not fear-filled. And it's not to say that it's going to be easy, because your soul didn't come here for an easy ride. Your soul as consciousness came here to explore, to have an adventure, to learn, to grow, to see the dark and the light. And in that experience, in that variety, we get to create this quantum soup that we live in. And it's all about shifting and morphing and moving and allowing and choosing. And so as you are going through your days, begin to tap into the heart energy. Take some quiet moments for yourself. You know, let go of the crowd that is maybe pushing you to think one way or another, and ask yourself what it is that will make you truly happy, even in the midst of all of this change that none of us really know where it's going, except that all I can tell you is my guides have said that when we move into the 5th dimension, there will not be fear, and there will be love and harmony. And although we're not there yet, you can access it in moments doing some of the things that I've talked about today in this video. So as always, thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this, please like, share it. Please subscribe to my newsletter. It is the best way to know when I am doing more videos for you. And in the meantime, I'm sending you lots and lots of love. Thank you so much.